Hey everybody, welcome back to Play Casket. This is your host, Paraka the Goblin, and
Ghoster co-host.
today we're going to actually talk a little bit about mobile games, and we're just going to keep it a little bit positive. We're just going to talk about stuff we actually enjoy, because there's a slew of crap out there. There's a reason why mobile games rightfully get completely lambasted every time you see anything. And it's because they all suck. But there is several little key ones that come out that are actually pretty good. But we're gonna go ahead and share what kind of games that are actually drawn to us on mobile.
I know everybody groans
Everybody's gonna start going oh my god, stop this one right now. Ugh.
Well, at the very least, here are a couple of good ones we recommend.
I wouldn't say just recommend, but stuff that we enjoy. So if you're into it, try them out. They're not. None of these are pay for. Let's just go ahead and put that out.
Oh,
these ones are.
You pay for.
Oh, you've probably dumped plenty of money on it. I've probably bought a couple battle passes on one of the ones I'm going to talk about, but for the most part, I think I spent a decent amount of money on one of mine. But for the most part, every one of these games you can actually access with no money whatsoever. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and tell me what type of games that draw you in. What makes you like certain mobile games?
Okay. Well, I think one that we both play is Dragalia Lost.
Yes.
So, I don't know how it's like a dungeon crawler, I guess.
It's kind of like a weird dungeon crawler action RPG.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where that's at.
So it's not just fully idle. You really do still need to pay attention to what you do. On top of that too, they're very generous in the things they give you, and it's not super grindy, but they do give you skip tickets too. If you hit a certain point and you're like, oh, I really need, a bunch of orbs, you just go to the area, skip tickets, and they hand them out pretty frequently too, so you're not constantly grinding.
Yeah, they hand them out every day. I don't know, that's actually one of the things that kind of grinds my gears is you hit a plateau that you have to double back on consistently to actually grow your characters to a reasonable level to surpass that plateau.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of a weird bittersweet thing for me, but that's something that I don't really like much in mobile games in general.
Yeah.
It's basically that stuff is the reason why the idle games are made. There is also an auto selection on Dragalia where you can just hit auto and say use up all my energy and just kind of let your phone do your thing, and it's boring.
Yeah.
So I don't like when I hit the plateau. So I'll be on and off that game, and I'll come back and I have just a slew of gifts that I just open up and I just power through everything for an hour or so and just get enough and then boost one of my characters to a point where it finally surpasses that. Mm-hmm. The whole Agito challenge thing that they're doing now, and get those 6-star weapons. I think I just finally got my first or second one now. Mm-hmm. So my team's starting to get really good now, right? But
I don't know. I don't understand some of the people who are really, really top tier to where they have
the min-maxers.
Yeah. Even I don't how do you guys get this high? I play a decent amount, but is this all you guys play? It's ridiculous.
Well, I hyper-focus on some of my characters. I will hyper-focus on one character per element, mm-hmm. So at least I have that going for me for each character. So I'll have that. And plus Vanessa, the weird character from Fire Emblem for the crossover, broken as hell.
Yeah.
Just sheer broken as hell. So she's just a giant fucking glass cannon, and it's ridiculous. But for the most part, the reason why I actually like that game, and it's for reasons why I like certain mobile games in general, is that it's not art bending, live 2D as it were. It's just this flat panel. Flat panel nonsense that kind of bends and stuff and acts very weird to me. I don't like that. It's kind of like a weird art collecting of something.
Live 2D. You need more culture in your life.
But so I like the fact that the characters actually have models. So even though they're a little chibi, mm-hmm. they're still fun to look at, and a lot of them kind of stand out against one another.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that for the most part, but there's still a plethora of characters that you just have to grind out and just plow through. So there's stuff that still gets my goat about it. Mm-hmm. It's one of the reasons why I don't play it too often, but it is a game I do enjoy because it is. I like when mobile games are actively telling you to engage.
Yeah.
Like that's the type of games I enjoy.
Yeah. I would say with Chibi and like, I can't wait to see them do full models. But for the time being,
I feel like they'll probably do a full model thing for like a different type of game in their franchise. Like,
Yeah.
Who knows? We might see something kind of like a Dark Cloud-esque. I remember reading an idea about it, like a Dark Cloud-esque type of game for Dragalia Lost, where you kind of build your like Arborea, whatever they named the name.
well, there was that one Grand Blue Fantasy, coming, and it had a lot of very similar mechanics to Dragalia. So
Something similar, and then
yeah.
of course they went into a fighting game and stuff too just
Yeah.
recently. So there's stuff in there, and there's actually another game I'm gonna probably touch on a little bit later in here that does something similar, but in reverse. That they're using the mobile game to kind of expand on stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, no, like I have no problem with the chibi stuff or anything. Like it's just I'm glad it has more activity to the character.
Yeah.
So you actually kind of get used to the characters and how they move and stuff like that. Epic 7 is very similar to that, but I couldn't get too much into it because there's a plateau early on in that game,
Yeah.
and it just hurts.
Especially in PvP, you're like, oh man, I can never reach these.
And I had one of the like stronger characters. Like they just need a power level. I'm like I can't get through this.
Yeah. Well, the ridiculous thing is that people need to lose to your team, so it's hard to like really trick people into fighting your character. So like, man, I can't make any currency off of people not wanting to fight my team because they're too strong. They're too strong for anybody to get baited by them, but they're too weak for any like the top tier guys to take them on. So I just sit there, and like nobody wants to fight me.
Yeah, no, it's one of the things I didn't want to do with that. I didn't do actually much PvP on that game.
okay.
I only did it like once or twice when I'm doing the dailies and stuff, and that was it.
It's a good way to get those tablets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm like, dang it.
Well, PvP is always a good game system anyway because it changes your experience every time you play the game.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why PvP works, but sometimes you don't need PvP.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that type of conversation and another thing. But
Speaking of Epic 7, though, waifu collectors, yeah, that's my thing.
yeah, that's not my deal. I think the closest to a waifu collector, as it were, or the gacha collections is Dragalia Lost. Like, that's probably I think that's literally the only one I really played much of that I continually return to.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
There's been a couple I've tried.
Mhm.
And some of them have some really cool character like designs in them and stuff. There was a puzzle game that was very similar to that. That was like something fantasy. It's off the top of my head, but
Okay.
I've never been gacha collector or harem feast or whatever other words they want to use in them.
Never roll for meta, always roll for waifu. But Destiny Child, that's one I've been sticking with for the longest time because the best part about gacha collecting is rolling for the waifus. So Destiny Child, they're very generous with their currency, and so long as you do your dailies, you'll always have enough money for the next part.
Just for something,
Yeah.
basically.
On top of that too, so like do your dailies, they give you a decent amount. Do PvP, they give you a decent amount when you score in the end. Then you have events, you have I can't remember what it's called. It's like they'll give you like certain goals you could reach to for more currency.
Okay. Kind of like a daily task of some
Yeah.
sort. Okay.
For every event. Yeah. So they're constantly dumping money and currency on you on top of materials. So it's a very generous game. I wish more people would play it. Everybody gets kind of shocked to see at like certain really expensive passes, but you don't need them. You don't need to buy the passes at all, unless you're really really impatient or you got like fuck you money. But for the most part, it's a really good game. So and it's just like a collecting the characters are like the coolest part. So all the waifus are just top shelf. So, but I mean it's a basic RPG, and they make use of most of your characters, especially with like certain low tier ones. You do come back and visit them, to bring them back for the new events. So
So do they like give you abilities to like power up the older ones, or is it like just a new variant of it, and it's more powerful?
a bit of both actually, because you'll get one character that starts off as a 3-star, and then there's a 5-star version of them later on the line.
Okay, so they just like unlock, and you just kind of unlock them all the way through until they fully realize a 3-star thing.
Yeah, or certain ones too. They have very strong abilities against certain situations too, like boss, PvP, PvE, raid, Ragnar raid, stuff like that. So, but it's a fun game. People should play it.
No, for me, like I tried that game,
Uh-huh.
but it goes back to the whole art bending
Art bending?
nonsense.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
I'm not down with it. It feels very like forced, but I feel like that's one of the things they do to kind of cut costs so they can make more of the same thing. Because if you had to animate those things, even if it's a small animation of it, like I understand that would probably be a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not like dogging them on it, but it's just one of those things that just turns me off on that thing.
Oh, okay.
So it's not for me.
Well, you could turn off the live 2D. And just
Well,
have-
it's still just art. Like
Oh,
that's
okay.
the thing.
Gotcha.
Like there's no
You're just collecting it, yeah.
you're not getting into the character because the character doesn't move.
yeah.
You know, there's no like even what's the game? Romancing Saga 3 that I just recently played. It takes a lot of visual cues from like Final Fantasy 6. So there's a lot of character design and stuff like that. But the characters feel bland because they don't have as many animations as the Final Fantasy 6 used to.
Mhm.
But they still have character. They still move. They still interact with one another.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So it there's at least that. Otherwise, you're just watching a visual novel.
No, okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's just it's not as engaging for me.
No.
Like I don't look at a still of a character and go, "Wow, that's some great design." I would like to see that in like just out of just pulling this out of my ass, like Smash Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't fully see it because it's not one of those things that you can imagine because
okay.
you don't
Gotcha.
see all the character's movements, or at least enough that you kind of get the idea of how the character works.
Okay. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah.
You know, like I just use like Smash Brothers is just an easy metaphor for that type of thing too, because everybody's thinking it for all their characters, all the time. Anyone listening to this knows exactly what character they would love to see in Smash Brothers next. So I'm just putting that out there. It's the best metaphor to use.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I've never beyond, like I said, beyond Dragalia Lost. I've never actually really played many other ones like that. But I like playing games that are constantly get you engaged. Like
Okay.
you have to interact with the game.
Yeah.
One of them is actually, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, you're kind of shilling because it's not anything exciting." You know, it's a big company. Brawl Stars,
Mhm.
same people who made Clash of Clans.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Which is weird. Like this game has made $1 billion for the company. It's huge. It is huge, right? And nobody talks about it, but everybody talks about Clash of Clans. Granted, Clash of Clans still earns a lot more money for the company,
Yeah.
but in the grand scheme of things, no. Like Brawl Stars is still really huge.
Okay.
And I gave it a blind go because it was something interesting. It kind of looked like a game that I actually really loved playing that the developers stopped developing because they're cold and they're cold-hearted and they're soulless. Battle Right.
Mhm.
Battle Right was a game that on the PC that you basically had a multitude of skills that you used, and all of it was basically skill-based. There's no auto lock on anything. You had to throw your heals at somebody, and they would have to be healed by it if you were a healer. You know, they would have to get hit. And there's no crit percentage chances. There's no random generator chances. There was no mana to micromanage. It was you have cooldowns. You use those cooldowns. That's it.
Yeah.
And it hit certain amount of damage unless you had some integers that would change them, and it hit that certain amount of damage. There was never a time where you would have 12% chance to crit somebody or make them slow or whatever. If it hits, it will slow as long as that slow was on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Brawl Stars kind of took that game and watered it down a lot. So instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 7 skills plus an ult, you only have 1 skill plus an ult.
Oh, okay.
So it's very manageable for anybody new to that type of game. You could understand exactly what you're doing. Like you're like, oh, okay, I see. This is what I'm doing, and go from there.
Yeah.
And you can easily play it. Like you just, as long as you hit your normal skills, you build a meter for your ult, and your ult does certain things too.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Barrier to entry is very
Very low.
yeah.
But as you progress, you actually unlock gadgets, which you activate, and then certain things will come up or alter your ultimate or alter your attack, or even does like dropping a field thing that helps boost your character's ability
Variety
or
over
something to that
power.
point.
Variety
And
over power. Yeah.
then when you max out your level, you get star powers, which are passive integers to your changes to your character. Such as like if your character has all of its ammo full, it moves faster,
Okay.
or it has a shield, or if it uses an ult, it automatically slows anybody that touches it. Stuff like that,
Okay.
right? And it's passive, so you never run out of it. Gadgets only have a certain amount of uses over a course of a game, and the games are quick. Like it's a mobile game, so
Yeah.
it makes sense for it to be quick.
Yeah. No, that's nice because, like I said, the reason why MOBAs turn me off is
Oh God, dude!
you know
I hate most MOBAs. Like I only played Smite.
yeah
Namely because I love mythology, namely Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Love it, right? Beyond that, I hate MOBAs. I just hate all MOBAs.
like you're fighting for 45 minutes and then you
lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
like,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I could have done something else.
Yeah.
better on this time.
Yeah. And so, yeah, most of these games, maybe 3 to 5 minutes
Okay.
at the longest.
Yeah.
Like you don't play beyond 5 minutes. That's it.
Okay.
And that's basically it. That's all you gotta do. And you play through them. A lot of it's 3v3. Like it has unique goals, and you kind of achieve those goals and stuff like that, and it works out. You earn some money, you earn some points and stuff like that. It's the thing that I actually talked about buying battle passes for. I buy the battle pass for it because it actually gives me chances for more chests that add more shards to your character, that boost your character, but they only reach to a certain level, and then I stop.
Oh, okay.
But then they have like true gold, true silver stuff that costs thousands of the in-game currency.
Okay.
So even if you like max out all your characters, theoretically, you still had money sinks, which is cool,
Yeah.
right? But for the most part, the game is very straightforward, quick, really just focused on gameplay. The things that really focus on like the money aspect is just skins, so very cosmetic items. But the overall, very cartoonish, very easy to look at, very easy to play. It stands out too. It's like a lot of the characters are charming. And apparently there's a pseudo hidden lore behind them and stuff that's kind of dark. And I would let other people kind of go into it themselves if they into that game. But it's weird. It's like it's one of those things like Rugrats when you have that theory that only one person is actually alive there and stuff. It's weird.
Oh, okay.
But that's what I play. Like
Okay.
I play something to that point.
I think another one for me, waifu collector, kind of. Well, this one's really, really nice though. Exos Heroes. I can't believe
Oh yeah, that
it's like the Korean full model.
the full model RPG
Everything?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so nice. Like
That's really gorgeous looking.
Yeah.
It's really easy on the eyes.
'Cause
But
even the,
it's another one of those like collectathon ones.
Yeah.
I'm like I can't do it. Gorgeous game though.
yeah, because like the concept art looks like the 3D models. It's done extremely well. So because sometimes you'll see like the concept art and then it's just done, and then the 3D is done by like some generic 3D model.
Like some Korean 3D artist like in World of Warcraft 3. Not World of Warcraft, just Warcraft 3 Reforged. Yeah. But I like them apples.
Yeah, I mean, every character is animated. Everybody has their own specials. It's just the most beautiful looking game ever.
Well, that is one thing that I've never really liked either. Like everyone who has their own specials, when you keep adding more characters, eventually they're gonna have overlap.
Yeah,
Like it's just out of habit.
yeah. And then what else? The music is incredible. I wish I
Oh,
could
yeah.
buy the I wish I could buy the soundtrack, but you can't
Dude,
find it.
I tried to Google it on YouTube and stuff
Uh-huh.
and try to play it live on YouTube.
Yeah,
Like half of them keep getting deleted.
yeah,
Every time, like 4 days later, and I'll look up and I'm like, oh, the desert world's not gone now. But the music's great. Like
Yeah.
I would definitely buy a soundtrack to that.
yeah. And then what else? So the battle mechanics are like, it's turn-based RPG, but the most interesting thing is when you fight bosses, they have shields or like these little elemental crystals that you need to break. So if you don't bring the right team per element, you're gonna be fighting for a long time. But if you do break their shields, they stun for that many times of their shields. So it's like a risk versus reward on top of you having those two. But it's so satisfying when you break their shield and they're stunned and you hit them for like really, really hard. But it's a good game. On top of it, like having a new update, they've been more generous because it was brutal as shit when you first started.
Yeah, I remember you introduced me to it, and I tried it, and it just fucking curb stomped me. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna try this anymore. This one sucks. Like, and I suck at it. And I'm not spending money to collect everybody. And some of the powerful characters are like squeaky, little like deer girl person thing. I'm like, no. I had
Chelsea?
enough of that with Battle Right. Because that was the only character everybody loved at the time. But yeah, no, I wasn't buying into that like at all.
Yeah, but I guess another short one is Azure Lane. It's super simple, but I do like how they're very generous about what you roll for. So cubes are like abundant if you're willing to wait. The only thing you really need currency, like actual currency, for is for the skins. Other than that, if you're playing it slowly, just don't throw money at cubes or gold. But it's also just one of those. The point of the game is to roll, so Azure Lane's really, really good too and generous about that. So give that a try.
Yeah, no, I noticed that you like a lot of them that just give you a boatload of stuff. Just like, please continue playing our game.
Well, because like the rolling is the fun part of the gotcha. You know what I mean? I hate it when they give you such a heavy paywall, because like, oh, here's your first roll is free, and you roll for like this legendary character. And it's like it's the first one that everybody gets, so
Yeah.
you feel special. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and
But all
then
your loss is no different to that one too.
yeah, and then you're playing for a little bit, and you're like, oh man, I really need a new character. But I gotten so far. How much is it for a roll? $20. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I stay away from that stuff, because I don't like getting plateaued.
Yeah.
Like for Brawl Stars, if I stop, I stop.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Right? Like, but I don't lose my characters. There's like my characters, unless they purposely nerf the crap out of them, which one of my favorite characters has not gotten nerfed. Knock on wood. But his utility is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Like it throws everyone off. Basically, his character is named Lou. He's a sentient ice cream cone machine, and his ultimate tosses down a small area that's slick.
Mhm.
So you can predict everybody's movements on it and just hit them as hard as you can, and it stacks this cold. And when the cold stacks to max, they stun for a second,
Mhm.
and everybody just goes ham on it. It's the most ridiculous crap I can do, right? So
Can you stack the same characters?
no,
Oh, okay.
you can if you're doing like a private room or whatever,
Mhm.
but you don't get any rewards for doing it. You're not like even your progresses for your dailies and stuff like that don't count to it or anything
Okay.
else. So you can just have fun with it. It's nothing any serious. But if you're gonna do anything else beyond that, nope, nope, not at all. But one of the other games that kind of like I mentioned a while ago, this is the type of game that goes in reverse. Dan Fornace, the dude who made Rivals of Ether,
Mhm.
he actually helped make a mobile game called Creatures of Ether. It's and it's kind of like the Final Fantasy VIII's Triple Triad card game, where you had like numbers and arrows and stuff like that, and each one has certain unique abilities, and they have like elemental cues to them and stuff too. So there's a little bit more built behind this game that Final Fantasy VIII did not have, like Triple Triad did not have. But it was kind of used like, not only does like the main legendary characters are actually like the fighters from Rivals of Aether, it uses it as a way to expand, like it's not just these characters, the whole world's like this. So that you have like creatures that you didn't even know existed because they don't appear in the Rivals of Aether game.
Yeah.
But they appear in this Creatures of Aether game, which is all these creatures that are influenced by the 4 elements and stuff like that. So you'll have like an ice seal, and you'll have a walrus that's made out of earth and stuff like that. So you have like different unique abilities to it, right?
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of cool to me, right?
Yeah.
So that's what actually drew me drew me to this game, right? And I liked Triple Triad. That's actually the only thing good out of Final Fantasy VIII. Despite all the other emotional, one-liner, one-dimensional nonsense of 8 that was 8 always.
Time travel, kill me.
But one of the downsides is not many people really play it too much. Like, there's still like 3 times more people still playing Rivals of Aether than they'll ever play this mobile game. Which makes sense. For the most part, it's a mobile game.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are kind of shun it. And with a game like Rivals of Aether, where most of your market share is a lot of elitist, very like professional, like tech junkies. Like they want technicals and like Twitch playing and stuff like that. Like they want that. They don't want a casual stroll through card game world.
Yeah.
So, of course, they're not going to play it. But it's still a good game. They have a little battle pass. I never really buy into it. I don't play enough for me to warrant something like that. But they have stuff like that. But it just gives you the ability to kind of boost your cards every so often. But nothing where you have to buy it to even get the reward. Because all your legend characters, you can't stack legend cards. You get 1 legend card, and the rest are the ones that you have to earn throughout the rest of the game.
Oh, okay.
So you're kind of still forced to play the game in order to be good at the game. But I think it's really cool. And it's like kind of used as a weird leverage to kind of show more of the world. Like, this is the world of Aether. And they have some kind of RPG that's coming out, like some weird dungeon crawler RPG that's coming out, like late this year, I believe. They could have changed it since then, but late this year. So that looks pretty cool too. And we'll see where the whole Rivals of Aether like universe goes. It's kind of really cool. It's weird that it's like a elemental furry thing, and I'm not too into furries too much, but the games have been solid.
Okay.
So I'll let them slide.
Yeah. Which also reminds me, if we get a card game from Rivals of Aether, how come Smash Brothers doesn't get a mobile game with like the spirits or something?
Oh my god. I'm still more shocked that like they haven't added a diorama mode for the stickers, so you can kind of like set up your characters, resize them and stuff like that, like they had for the trophies on Smash U.
Yeah, that's fine.
They should the spirits don't have much beyond the World of Light thing. Like there's nothing beyond that. So they give them a way to do dioramas. Let's be real here, right? Like, allow people to kind of make pseudo Smash Brothers dreams with these spirits that they have. You know, I mean, Shantae's in it. You might as well go ahead and use it where it's her fighting Shovel Knight and Plague Knight, and like, look, this could have happened for real life. But they never really do anything like that. Like, if they're not going to do that, I don't think they're going to ever really do a card game, especially since they would have to get that okay from everyone involved.
Yeah.
That would be a nightmare. Whereas Creature of Aether, it's just Dan Fernacey.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He's like, yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah. But speaking of games that could get something like that, but going the other direction, there was a game from Ubisoft I liked a while back. I haven't played it for years. And I'm actually surprised it never really reached another system, and I'm surprised it hasn't hit Switch yet either. Because it sounds like a mobile game that Ubisoft would just port everywhere. Because they already did that with Hungry Shark World, which is a cheeky mobile game thing out there too, which I played a little bit. It was fun, but it wasn't for me. A game called Mighty Quest for Epic Loot. So basically, you use your character, and you basically do an isometric dungeon run of other people's dungeons, and they set up booby traps and stuff like that to protect their loot.
Yeah.
So you still raid other people's places, but they have them built in certain ways that you have to protect them yourself from, and like so they have booby traps and monsters and stuff like that defending their stuff while they're like logged off.
Yeah.
But I kind of really like that game. Apparently they're still going to this day because I literally looked it up before we started recording, but they stopped developing it for years ago, so
Really?
I don't even know why it's still like running. Like it's just the weirdest thing. Because I just like looked it up, I'm like, I wonder what's going on. And it's like it was dead a while ago, and I'm looking and there's reviews from 2 weeks ago, and like people engaging, like the actual like developers engaging, like contact our customer service and blah blah blah. We're sorry, and I'm like, what? This is a little weird.
Okay.
Ubisoft actually hires HR still. That's funky. But that was just one of those games. I'm not sure if I would recommend going into it because I'm not even sure if I would ever return to it and see what's going on. But it was one of those games I was just surprised they haven't like cheated the whole thing and just put it on the Switch because anything on the Switch apparently sells now.
No, okay.
Like Calculator. When you gonna put that on physical, LRG? We're waiting. But yeah, no, that sounds like. Honestly, I feel like that's a little bit what the only few games I actually play on my mobile games, and I play a lot of the 3 that I've already listed.
Yeah.
So like that's just a lot of stuff. I would say you guys are open up if you guys are open-minded to go ahead and try it out. And this is what we're gonna say. And thank you all for listening. And you guys have a good day, and we'll see you on the other side.
Bye. See ya.